have a record that will never be broken.
You can't trip on that.
They hit big shots with Luka. I think the Clippers have no idea.
Oh, look at that reaction. Look at that reaction. You have a record that will never. What do you say? What do you know? What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Sunday, February 6th, 2022. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. the Sports Whisperer. I want to thank everyone for tuning in last week. We had 37 states. Our most popular show to date was last week, so I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate the support. You can follow me on social media, on Twitter, MonteJP231, and of course on TikTok, Monte Perez231. We are approaching 250,000 views on TikTok. Right now, we're at about 242,000 views. Been posting TikTok videos of this sports show, sports clips, my takes over the past 2 to 3 months. And again, we are at almost 250,000 views. So I want to thank you so much for supporting us. I want to thank you all. Make sure to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up for this show. We have the best guests all across the country. This week is no exception. In about 10 minutes, we're going to get Gus Frerotte on, a former NFL quarterback with over 15 years experience. And, of course, Huddle Up with Gus, his talk show. And then we have Rico Show Me the Money Graziano going to join us. And also Daniel Goodwin III going to talk Bears, going to talk Bulls. Chicago Bears, this could be their year. We don't know what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. We don't know what's happening with the Vikings in their quarterback situation. And let's face it, Detroit Lions, are still in rebuilding mode pretty much for the last couple of years. So definitely want to get Daniel's take on that. But we start each show like we always do with the good, the bad, and the funny. Okay, listen. I know they lost to Toronto the other night, but I told you all a while ago that when this team gets healthy, they are going to be rocking. They've won 10 out of 11 with Trae Young in the lineup. The Atlanta Hawks are starting to get some momentum. And can we give Trae Young some respect? He's fourth in scoring, averaging 28 points a game. He's third in assists, averaging 9 a game. He's 10th in three-pointers made. 6th in free throw attempts. And remember when you guys all said that, now that the rules changing, Trae Young's not going to be able to adjust to get to the line? He's been phenomenal. No matter what you throw at this guy. And again, it doesn't always translate college to pro, but he was the youngest player in the history of the NCAA to lead the nation in scoring and assists. Again, he does it all. He can shoot. He gets to the rim. He gets fouled, and he's averaging over 9 assists a game. So the Atlanta Hawks, they lost to Toronto, the other night, but they've won 10 out of 11 with Trae Young in the lineup in their last 11 games. Okay, so now to the bad. I don't know what's going on in social media, and I really don't care about people attacking me, haters, whatever. Who cares? Right? People are going to dislike you, whatever. But there's something going on. When I post something about, hey, maybe we should have more African-American head coaches. There's only 31. There's 32 coaches, only one African-American coach last year, Mike Tomlin, and then they had Brian Flores. But there's something going on in social media where the same people, Jim 0749231, is attacking me and saying racial things about, you're Antifa, or it's the same bots that are going on. There's something happening in social media that I'm not scared. I don't bring all the haters on. I don't care. What are you going to do to me? But when it's, Bob 379432, Biden sucks, Colin Kaepernick sucks. Didn't bring up Joe Biden. I don't care who you vote for. It has no bearing on my life. Didn't bring up Colin Kaepernick. But it's the same comments going on. Now, look, again, I don't have that many followers on TikTok. I've only been on it a couple months. I have like 700 followers. Yes, I have, like I said before, almost 250,000 views. But the amount of like racist anti-rhetoric going back and forth when I'm just simply saying, hey, we may need to hire more minority coaches, right? So there's something going on in the media where these people are targeting, maybe it's like code words. First of all, they don't speak English. They spell wrong, broken English. They never have any followers. They never have a picture, and it's always a name, Steve, 0789432. Jenny, 8675309. Did anyone get that reference from mid-80s? 8675309. But my point is, like, just because I'm saying, hey, maybe we may look into maybe hiring more minority coaches, the amount of bots that are just waiting to cause racial division. And I used to do a political podcast. It was sports and politics. I stopped doing it because it was too divisive. No matter what side of the aisle you stood on, people were annoyed after the show because it was just too dividing. I want to bring people together. We have more in common than we don't. But there's something really weird if they're going after my account just because I said, hey, maybe we need to look at the NFL's hiring process. That's all I said. That's all I said. And the amount of bots that have come out and attacking me, I don't know if they're from this country. I don't know where they are, but they're just there to grow hatred. And it's really, really alarming and disgusting if you ask me, because, again, we have more in common than we have differences. But I saw that on my page this week. Again, I posted a video about Brian Flores, and I got, I don't know, I think 12,000 views in a day on TikTok, and thousands of comments, and it's hard to keep track of these bots. I don't know who's doing it, but their whole goal is to just spew hate and venom and cause divide, black versus white, man versus woman. It's disgusting. Social media's got to do something about this. They really do. I think you should have to put a picture up of yourself. You have to get verified. Maybe do like, once a month, you put a live picture of you, something along those lines. Okay. So that's the bad. Now let's go to the funny. It's, criminals nowadays are really just, I laugh. I have to laugh at this. So here's a guy in Florida, okay, who stole a bunch of lottery tickets, scratch-offs. He won after he stole them, and the person saw him stealing, and he came back the next day to collect the money to the same store that he stole from. Wasn't wearing a mask, just grabbed a bunch of lottery tickets while the person at the counter was doing something else, ran out of the store. The very next day, he comes back in and wants to collect the $500 that he won. Immediately, they called the cops. He was arrested. Like, all he had to do was go to a different store and no one would ever question him. How lazy of a criminal do you have to be to go to the same store that you robbed? How lazy of a criminal do you have to be? Unbelievable here in Florida, what's going on. Florida is the craziest state in the country. All right, real quick before we get Gus on, just want to bring this up. There's a lot of trade talk, trade deadlines. I'll get to this at the end of the show with the NBA. Just who's going to go where. They're talking about breaking up the Pacers. We just heard, listen, if I'm the Hawks, I go after someone like Marvin Bagley, power forward from the Kings. He's 6'10". You see Buddy Hield there. Is CJ McCollum going there? Are the Dallas Mavericks going to add something? We'll get to this on my closing extra point on the Full Monty Sports Show at the end of the show. Keep the comments coming. We will get to them. Let's bring him on, host of Huddle Up with Gus, former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. Gus, how are you today?
What's up, my buddy? I'm doing well today. It's only about 12 degrees here in Pittsburgh, so indoors again.
Gus, I saw you backstage. Did you just come from working out? You were perspiring a little bit with the towel.
No, I just got a shower. When you get
The
out of the
shower didn't
shower.
take,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
we always do a Sunday breakfast when the boys are home. So we were cooking eggs, and we had pancakes and bacon, and I made some potatoes. So I was cooking. Hurry up! Wanted to clean up for you a little bit.
Gus, are you an avid cooker, or is it just your Sunday thing? That's your deal.
No, I do a lot of the cooking in the house. My wife works full time, so I do a lot of the cooking around the house now. They kind of put their orders in. I order from Whole Foods. It gets delivered. There couldn't be anything better than that. And because I used to spend hours going through Whole Foods, now I can just order and do other things and get business done while the groceries are delivered. It's kind of nice.
That's awesome. Now, there's something to be said about getting groceries delivered. A lot of people took advantage of that during the pandemic. But why do you want to go deal with parking, deal with annoying customers when they could just? And they're usually pretty good at telling what they have and what they don't have, right? So they don't mess the order up.
Yeah, they'll send you a text to see, hey, this isn't in. What do you want, a replacement or not? And you can say yes or no right away. The nice thing about that is if you did forget something or you need something, it cuts your time down at the store a lot. So I had to go and get some other stuff at the store that I forgot. It's 5-10 minutes instead of an hour in there.
Yes, people are. Listen, Florida is just crazy here. George with the comment. I don't know what's happening here. And thank you, Andrea, for getting the 867-5309 reference here from Tommy Two-Tone and Jenny. All right, Gus, let's get right to it. As a former player and coach, I experienced racism I hate to say it, when I went down south, when I went to the Midwest. We're seeing a lot now in the NFL. I look at the NFL locker room as a cohesive unit, but there's always going to be problems. Have you ever experienced racism or saw someone be a victim of racist rhetoric or slurs?
Oh yes, lots, many times. Especially when I was coaching in high school, and I had kids in high school that we went to a private school in St. Louis, and they would drive through the communities and just get pulled over because they were black. So that's happened numerous times. It was some of my son's best friends, and it's just hard to listen to those stories because really it never happens to white people, right? Most time it's black kids, and they're just driving through a neighborhood, and they get pulled over because they don't live there, they're not from there, and it's really sad to me. It's not equal, and we've seen it over the last probably 5-6 years that it's gotten worse. And I think that people are realizing that there is a discrimination going on, and there are a lot more people that want to do the right thing, but yet it keeps rearing its ugly head. And I look forward to the day that we can all be a part of somewhere where we're just all the same.
Yeah, I said in my opening, I said that we have more in common than what we don't. Like, you've experienced all sorts of races in the locker room, right? I'm sure some of your closest friends while you were playing were African American or a different race to you. I look at it as a chance to embrace other cultures. Growing up, my best friend was African American, Iranian, and Irish, and we would joke. We would say some racist things, but it was never mean spirited. It was, my one friend, to this day, his dad would text me, "Hey, because I'm Spanish. Hey, my lawn needs to be done, or we just ate dinner. Come." So little stuff like that. Hey, you're gonna wait on us, but it was never mean spirited. So what do you do, Gus, when you said your son's best friends would experience it? How do you try to minimize the comments that were said, or there's nothing you can do?
Well, you have to educate people. People have to be educated on right and wrong, and sometimes they don't want to listen. I've definitely had friends who I knew were had that tendency, and you say, "Hey, look, I'm going to tell you how it is. This is what it is. It's not what you think it is. We are all equal. We are all one. And if you can't understand that, I don't want to. My thing is like, okay, I can try and educate you. I can try to be your friend. Hopefully, you listen. And if you don't, then it just happens. We're not friends anymore. That's just how it goes, because I don't think, it's reared its ugly head over the last 5 years. And I've been in the NFL and played with people of color for a long time. And, they're all just friends to me. I've never seen anybody other than that. And when you see things that come out, and it continues to come out, we've had the Rooney Rule forever now. And we've seen what Brian Flores is saying, what Hugh Jackson is saying, what Tony Dungy came out, wrote a letter a year ago. And we haven't seen any difference. Opinions are one thing, but we see the facts. There's 31 white coaches and one black coach, and we haven't seen any hiring that would show any difference.
I said this. I made a video and I said, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own set of facts. And one of the things that really bothers me is, how is someone supposed to get a job? For example, Flores, when he has another interview and they already hired someone. And people came back to me and said, well, each owner can hire who he wants. I said, yeah, he can, but then just cancel the interview. It's a mock interview that they're bringing him in because they already hired someone else. So I don't know the answer, but there's got to be a way where, tell me you're racist without telling me you're racist. 31 to 1 is not even remotely close of equality, right? And if you and the one negative that I kept getting is that, oh, white coaches are better. Why, like, if we have owners who the mindset is that because you're a white man, you're smarter than a black coach. Where the hell? I mean, is this 1950s Mississippi?
Yeah, no, it's tough to deal with sometimes because there are some incredible coaches out there, and I feel like that when we talk about a black coach trying to get an opportunity, they have to be excellent, and that goes back to what every one of the coaches have said that have applied for head coaching jobs. Is like, we don't get a chance to be, oh, hey, we haven't had a great record, let's give us a chance because we had a great interview. It's just that black coaches have to be kind of at the top and always on their toes, and they can't make a mistake. And I couldn't imagine if a black coach would have done what the coach from Jacksonville, when he got fired and finally let go, how long that would have taken for an uproar and what people would have said, which was what he did was disgusting. And, I just feel like there's a different standard. Like everybody, if you have the pedigree and if you put in the time and the work, you should get an opportunity. To me, it's like why Eric Bieniemy hasn't had an opportunity to be a head coach. I mean, people say, well, he's had incredible players. Well, every team has incredible players, right? Josh McDaniels had Tom Brady for how many years?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like there's no right and wrong to all this. There's just good coaches and not good coaches. And if you interview someone and you give them the same opportunity, they have to prove themselves. And I guarantee those coaches will go out and do that.
Yeah, Urban Meyer, people, what all the things that Urban Meyer did in Jacksonville. And I say this all the time. I saw Adam Gase literally ruin Ryan Tannehill. He gets another job with the Jets. Ryan Tannehill, he had a bad playoff game, but Ryan Tannehill has been an absolute success in Tennessee. And this goes to my next point. You bring up, getting second opportunities. And Bill Belichick was terrible without Tom Brady. If you look at his record, right, he got another chance. But we're not seeing these African-American coaches. And let's be honest, this was the first time since 2002 and 2003 that the Miami Dolphins had back-to-back winning seasons. So if you want to criticize Brian Flores, you can, but he did something that hasn't been done in almost 20 years in Miami, and then they fired him.
Yeah, you hear all these things. People say all this stuff. Well, he didn't get along with people. He wasn't easy to deal with. Well, yeah, I've been around a lot of coaches. You think Nick Saban is easy to deal with? It's not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like some coaches are just, they're not everybody's friend. And it's not that you expect them to be your friend. They demand a lot of you, which is fine. It's just they can't disparage you. They can't. And I don't think that Brian Flores, when I watched him coach, he was very intense, very meaningful in what he was doing. And, I think that he wants to win overall. And guys will definitely play for somebody like that if they understand, like, yeah, this coach is tough, but he's got my back and we all want to win and do the same thing. And it just there's a part to coaching where you can't be mean and you have to understand everyone on that team, including your coaches. You can't call your coaches dumbasses and think they're going to want to coach for you.
Yeah. This is a very intense conversation, but my friend Bill texts me every time you're on, and he's obsessed with how often does Gus shoot anything into that rim, which basketball hoop, which is behind him? Does that get any use?
Well, we used to have a few basketballs, but our dogs tore those up. So now it's when you crinkle a piece of paper up, you got to shoot it into the hoop. And it's just a mini hoop. We've had it up there since the kids, like before high school. It's been up there forever. So it's just something fun, and we just never took it down.
I love it. I love it. All right, Gus. So one of the things that you always want to reward, right? You want to reward teams that build a core of excellence, a team that year in and year out is consistent. So I don't understand this tanking, right? The Jets haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1969. The Lions have never been to a Super Bowl. So my question to you is, Why does the NFL think that if you have the worst record, you're going to get a number one draft pick and it's going to change your franchise? My solution is, for example, the Chargers, the Browns, the Saints. They all had good records and they didn't get into the playoffs. They played to the last week and they got knocked out. So my thing is reward the teams that play every week and play to the entire season and give them the first pick. So, for example, if the Chargers had the best record and they didn't make the playoffs, they get the number one pick. And the Jets, the Jags, the Lions, they get the 13, 14, 15 pick. This way, one, you don't take away from your starters who have incentive clauses and sit them out the last game of the season because you're trying to tank. Two, the fans, this is paramount to fixing games if it's true what Brian Flores said, that they wanted to lose. Like, how do we fix this so you don't reward the losing team every year? Because it hasn't worked for the Lions and it hasn't worked for the Jets.
Well, there's probably a number of ways to do it. You could do a lottery with the bottom 15 teams. You just put them in a lottery like the NBA does. And it's hard because as a player and you've given so much all year and you've won 2 games, it's hard to find a reason to be excited to go out and play. Most professional players are guys that are professional, which I mean, like, they're business minded. They know they got to do their job or they're not going to be around next year. We'll go out and play very hard. And also that's coaching, right? How does a coach, he has to be very talented to keep his crew together to go out and win every game. It is difficult. And like you said, I've lost incentives the last game of the season because the coach took me out and I missed my bonus by 1 play. Right?
Were you
because
miserable?
They didn't want to pay. Well, yeah, I've tried to fight it with the NFL because they have an arbitrator that can go in with you to the team. And they said, no, you literally missed it by 1 play. There's nothing we can do. Well, I said, well, the game wasn't over. He took me out with 10 minutes left and put the other quarterback in. We were annihilating another team. And all I needed was 1 more play. And I didn't get it. And I lost $500,000.
That's so disheartening. I mean, I saw this year, Tom Brady, they were taking him out, and he said no because he wanted Rob Gronkowski to get 1 more catch because Gronk getting the 1 more catch mean Gronk would reach his incentive. So Tom Brady said, no, I'm not coming out. At one of the last games of the season, they put Gronk in, he threw it to him, and then they both came out of the game.
I will tell you this, that happens all the time. We had that same game where I was taken out. We had 2 players, one that needed 9 catches and a tight end that needed, I think, 5 catches. So we must have thrown 5 quick screens to the receiver so he get his catches. And then the tight end, I threw him, digs, couple short things to get his, it was 50,000. The other guy was maybe, whatever it was, pretty high number. And then they take me out. So I was perturbed just from the standpoint of, all right, I'm getting these other guys, and the coaches knew it because they know what's going on, because I literally heard the coach asked the tight end, hey, you need how many catches this game? He said 4, coach, and I get my bonus. And he said, all right, we'll get it. Like, that kind of stuff goes on all the time. And it's kind of nasty. My thing always was, look, I'll sign a lower contract if you want to do it because I earned that, right? So give me the bonus if I do these things. Like in Miami, for instance, when I played there, I had a minimum contract. And everything was on whether I played. I had to reach certain incentives and do that. And I reached them all. I was cut after that season because next year my contract went way up. So the NFL is very tough sometimes because you sign a 2-year deal. That doesn't mean it's a 2-year deal. They're one-way contracts. We can get screwed over at any point, right? You see guys get cut, get let go. And a lot of times it has to do with contracts and not because they're a good or a bad person.
So we're talking about, coaching and players and camaraderie and building unity. When a coach takes you out with 1 play you need, how do you want to play for that coach?
It's hard. It's hard when you know it's there, when your agent knows your numbers, he's calling them, and all those types of things you have to deal with. But you can't really say too much because you don't want to burn a bridge, right? So You want to keep playing in the NFL. It stands for not for long, not just because of injuries. There's a lot of reasons that go on. So you kind of keep your mouth shut. You go in and fight for yourself, and they have to respect that. If they don't, all right, and you try to figure out where you can go next.
All right, so I want to talk about exit interviews, and then we'll talk about what you start doing in the off season. So for fans who don't know about these exit interviews, explain to them and give us something that a coach said that really made you feel at ease or motivated in the offseason, or something that really pissed you off, if you could share that with us.
Well, I mean, I've had exit interviews. I haven't had exit interviews.
Right.
So teams that, it seems like teams that didn't have a winning season, they're just okay. They have a team meeting and say, "We'll see you. We'll let you know what's going on. We'll see you at camp or whatever." But the exit interview is really about if the team wants to, like, you usually go in with your coach, right? Whether it's your quarterback coach, your defensive back coach, and they ask you some questions like, okay, what did you think of this? How can you improve on this? What do you feel was your shortcomings? What do you feel you did well? Now you can answer those things, but I think the best way to do an exit interview is when they ask you that question, you ask it right back. That's what advice I would give anybody. Like if a coach says, "Hey, what do you feel you did well this year?" I said, "Well, coach, what do you think I did well? I'd love to hear your opinion." Like, and that puts them on it because they're always putting you on, on the hot seat, right? So you can put it back on them by asking them a question. But the exit interviews are basically, you go and do one for your with the athletic training team. So they want to see how many bumps and bruises. And a lot of guys won't say all the stuff they had, but you have to tell them what you've had, all the injuries you've had, even if it was a strained finger that you couldn't, you had taped up for 3 days. You put it all down and you tell everybody what you had, because that comes back to workers' comp. When you retire, you can get disability and all these different things that happen, because a lot of guys are proud. They don't want to say they were injured. They don't want to say they were hurt. Then it looks like it's bad on your record that, hey, this guy, look how many times he was hurt last year. Can we count on him? And that's really not the case. You got to put that down to protect yourself. And then you meet with your coaches, and then finally the head coach. Usually, the head coach is about like, okay, we're trying to figure out whether we're going to keep this guy or not, right? And usually the quarterbacks that they're going to keep, they stick around. You're going to be there all the time. You take a couple of weeks off, and then you get back in the facility and you go back to work.
So you said your exit interview in Miami, you reached all your goals. Did Nick Saban say something to you that just pissed you off, and you were like, "You got to be kidding me, dude"? Because you guys were very, very competitive that year. It was a good team.
Yeah, I felt like we had an incredible team. We were just a little bit off. Like one more year with everybody, we could have really done some good things. But yeah, I will say that he did say something. He said, "I'm too old to play anymore," and that really pissed me off. Like. Because, how do you tell somebody that who went 9-6 for you, learned the offense, ran the team, was a captain for the team, and then you tell them that after the season that you're too old, we're going to bring somebody younger in. And I told him, I said, look, that's fine. Bring somebody younger in. I'll help, because that was one of the things I love to do. I love to give other people information, what I knew about the game, because I felt like we were a team. And if there was another quarterback on the team, I was going to do everything to help him be better.
So you were willing to stay and mentor a young quarterback, and he was like, "No."
Well, he was about money, right?
Oh.
They weren't going to pay me they said, come back for minimum, and we won't give you any incentives. And I'm like, no, like that's dumb. I earned that. I actually earned it. Went out every day, got 3 Toradol shots a week for 10 weeks to be on this team and to participate and try to win and go to the playoffs for this team. And that didn't happen.
So once the season is over, I imagine you spend time with your family. Talk about, you lose a playoff game. Okay. The season's over. When do you start to heal? How often do you take off? When do you go back to the gym? What's it like for all the teams now who are not playing? Players are not going to the Pro Bowl. What is it? You take a month off? How'd you do it?
Yeah, I usually took a month off, didn't try to stay away from the facility, and just kind of be with my family. I had kids when I was very young, and you always want to be a part of your family. I always did anyway. I always wanted to be there for them, let them know that I was around, and try to be there as much as I can in off season, because through the season, your wife does so much, or your significant other, to try and handle everything because you're gone all the time. And so that period, we try to usually do a vacation, and most guys will get away, try to take a break. And then, once you get back into the facility, it doesn't stop again because it's a year-round process. And
Right.
So you're lifting, you're running, you're watching film from last year. You're trying to figure out how you can you can self-motivate yourself from watching the film. You really want to watch yourself and see what things you can do better, whether it was against certain coverages or against certain players, or maybe it's certain routes I need to throw better, or footwork. So you can kind of self-educate yourself on what you're doing wrong and make it better. And then you go out and you start watching other teams that you may play.
When does your body, as you get older, obviously it heals slower? During the week, most players say that they're sore until Thursday or Friday. In the off season, when do you start to feel good again after going through 17, 18, 19 weeks of pounding?
Yeah, it takes some time. I think that, when you're off, you go get a lot of massages. You got to get a lot of physical therapy done. If you have an injury, you got to take care of that. Your body can heal. If you help it heal, it can heal really fast. So there's tons of new technologies that you can do, that you can go out and really help yourself perform better. But just doing the basic things, I would see a chiropractor. I would get massages. There were all kind of different things that you could do to feel better. If you had an injury, you get a surgery, take care of it. They basically can put you back together now for any injury you have.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it's just the mental. You got to be able to, what do I need to do mentally to focus, to be a better leader, to be a better teammate, so that people can trust me. And you try to reflect on the season and see what you could improve on. But that all helps. There's 3 phases. I feel like there's physical, the mental, and emotional that you have to work on after every season.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how, you see even in the 50s and 60s, other players had part-time jobs in the offseason. Now you take care of your body. Someone like Tom Brady, LeBron James, what LeBron James is doing now, 29, 7-7 at 37 years old, is just insane. What Tom Brady has been, a lot of this is not getting injured, but a lot of this is taking care of your body all year round. All right, so I want to talk about the young quarterbacks now. We have a bunch of quarterbacks that retired. We've talked about Justin Herbert on this show, how poised, how good he is. But I got to be honest, I've never seen a second-year player like Joe Burrow be so poised, so much of a leader from a losing organization to just coming in, and everyone feeds off this guy. The defense loves him. The offense loves him. Gus, are you amazed at how good he is so quickly?
I am amazed, and I think everybody is amazed, because he went and beat the Tennessee Titans. He went and beat the Chiefs, which you have a picture of there. He's poised under pressure, and it doesn't matter what point of the game, how many times he's been hit. The guys know that they're going to – you watch the whole offense, and they're all playing super hard the whole way through the game. A lot of times when you're giving up 9 sacks, guys are like, oh, God, I'm just getting beat after – and Joe never says anything to him. Joe just goes in, and he calls the next play, and you just see him. He might want to say something, but he understands that if he doesn't, those guys are going to get angry. They're going to play for him. They're going to want to win. And I think we see that week in and week out. And it's going to be an incredible Super Bowl to watch somebody like Joe Burrow go in there with this poise. He's been in big games. He's done it before. Whereas, you look at Matthew Stafford, he hasn't done it. And it's going to be very interesting to see the difference between the two. I think the one biggest thing for Joe is his line. Can his line protect him against that Rams defensive front?
It's amazing because against the Titans, I couldn't believe it. Every time he got sacked, I'm like, he's going to turn the ball over. He's going to fumble the ball. He never fumbled. He got sacked 9 times. I think he got hit 17, and he never fumbled the ball. He's so poised. He's so under control, which brings me to my next point. Matthew Stafford kind of said this week that, it's amazing, and he's not saying anything about the Detroit Lions. He's like, it's amazing that from day one when I came here, we were all on the same page. There's just a different vibe here. You played for bad teams. You played for good teams. Can you sense the difference right away going from a bad organization to an organization that is all about winning? Because Matthew Stafford made it seem like it's a total different mindset in LA.
Yeah, you definitely can see it. You can feel it. You see the veterans when you go to a new team, what they're doing, how the coaches approach it, how the front office approaches it. It is, and it all starts at the top with the GM and the coach. And I think that Matthew Stafford, he did amazing things in Detroit and didn't really win. But I feel like he understood as soon as he got to LA what he had to do to be the leader of that team, because he had some incredible people around him. And, he had the arm. I don't know what's wrong with his arm right now, but it feels like it doesn't have the same pop that it had at the beginning of the season. But I think that he understood that, hey, if I go in here, I just be the guy I am and work hard, then they're going to accept me. And that's what it is. I mean, you see that week in and week out, that the leaders of the team, and I feel like everything starts in the locker room. When teams are great, it starts in the locker room. You hear the stories about Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, just they ran that locker room. It wasn't the coaches. And with great teams, I feel like it is. I think if Joe Burrow comes in that locker room and says something, they're all going to respect what he says. Same with Stafford, same with Aaron Donald, same with Patrick Mahomes, Tyrann Mathieu, all these guys, when they come in the locker room, that's who the rest of the team is looking at. Yeah, the coaches give you inspiration. They're going to put the plays together for you. But the real nuts and bolts of your team starts in the locker room.
You know, it's amazing because I always bring up this story. Carmelo Anthony talks about when he was traded to the Knicks with Chauncey Billups. And one of the first times they went out on the road, Chauncey Billups says, "Hey, guys, we're going out to dinner. I'm taking you." He picks up the bill, and then other guys wanted to go to a nightclub. And Chauncey Billups like, "No, no, no. We're going to the hotel room. We play tomorrow. Curfew at 11 on the road." And everyone bought into it. The Knicks won 54 games that year. Chauncey Billups came from the Detroit Pistons and won a title. And everyone said he ran that locker room. Despite the star of Carmelo Anthony and other players there, you say this all the time. There are guys in the locker room who just make sure that everyone is on the same wavelength mindset. And I think the Rams with Ramsey, Donald, Cooper Kupp, even OBJ, their work ethic and their desire to win sets the locker room, right?
It does set the locker room. I mean, when you see older veterans who've been there, because you got to remember, well, most of the teams are from probably 22 to 28 years old, right? And most of those guys, if you said, "Hey, for 6 months, we're just going to focus on this, and that will help us get to Super Bowl," yeah, there's going to be things that come in their path that they probably shouldn't be doing, and they have a choice to make. Right. So there's always choices, decisions, and consequences. Perfect example is Henry Ruggs.
Yeah.
He had choices in front of him, made the wrong choice, and made that decision. And now he has a consequence of, being in jail for the rest of his life. And somebody died because of that. And it's really sad. And you hate to see guys ruin their opportunities like that. But sometimes when you have an older person or a person that you trust in the locker room, can really keep everybody not on the straight and narrow, because everybody needs to let loose once in a while. But it's almost like, understand that if you are out, that you have a responsibility not only to yourself, but also to this team.
Yeah, great point. And I'm all about consistency. I don't live day to day when it comes to picking games, when it comes to doing the show, videos, working out. I just try to be consistent. Like I said, I keep a calendar and I work and I mark down every time I work out, every time I do something for the show. And then at the end of the month, if I'm doing 25 times things to improve my life, eventually it's going to go the way I want to, and I'm going to reach my goals. So I think you talk about this all the time, and I really appreciate you giving us this insight about how important a locker room is. Okay, now I want to go back to coaches here. There are rumors that Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he will, may follow his offensive coordinator to Denver. Let me ask you this question. Was there ever a coach that you had such a good relationship with, and you would be like, "Listen, wherever you go, I'm going with you," whether it was a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, or a head coach?
Oh yeah, I was very good friends with Scott Linehan. So he and I were together. He was the OC when I was in Minnesota the first time in 03-04, and we had those good teams. He and I grew a great relationship. He went to Miami. That's why I went to Miami. Scott said, "Hey, I want you to come down and compete for the job." So I left Minnesota and went to Miami with Scott, and then he got the head coaching job. I was going to stay in Miami, but Nick Saban let me go. So I went to St. Louis with Scott, and he became the head coach, and I was there 2 years with him. So Scott and I became very good friends. He was an unbelievable play caller, and I just loved being around his offense.
So was it more of his mind, or he just understood you? You guys had a good rapport going back and forth, or was it just because you thought, "Hey, this guy's an offensive genius"? But it's more than that, right? It can't just be X's and O's, right? He obviously knew how to deal with you.
Yeah, I mean, he did, and I knew him pretty well. Sometimes we both like to bitch about the same things, which was kind of fun. We were kind of close in age, so that was always good. And when you work with somebody who does call plays really well and understands when to call the right play. It's a lot of fun to be around him. And he called the kind of offense that I love to be in. You know, it was kind of the digit system, but it wasn't. But it was a lot of play action, a lot of deep dropbacks, pushing the ball downfield, and I really enjoyed that type of offense.
You know, my friend Steve wanted me to ask you too. Did you like calling your own plays at the line of scrimmage? Did you like audibling? Did you feel confident enough? Because nowadays we're seeing a lot of that, especially with the older quarterbacks. You know, we'll see Aaron Rodgers tap his head to Devontae Adams, and they know something's happening. How comfortable were you with that, and did you prefer that at times?
Well, I mean, there's a lot in that question because you're not really calling your own plays. You call them in a huddle from the coach. So you're going to call a run to run, a run to pass. So if they're in cover 3, we're going to throw it. If they're in cover 2, we're going to run it. So when you hear them, you know, to see them tapping their helmet, they're checking out of one play into another that was called in the huddle.
Right.
Now, when you call your own plays, that's different. You don't see many guys calling their own plays where if they're calling their own plays, the coach is just letting them go, right? They're up at the line. Nobody's really done that for a long time. Like some guys can check out of a play and call a new play, but there's very few and far between that do that. You have to start that stuff early in the offseason. You have to really work on it every day so that you're good at it. So your brain knows how to do that. Because if you think you can go into week 5 and start audibling or checking, it just doesn't happen, right? And you're always late. Play clock's always running down. So those are tough things to do. I just think that when guys are good, they have a few plays that they have go-tos. So like if Aaron Rodgers knows that there's a full blitz, there's a go-to that I love that I can call, and I know where I'm going right away. I mean, it's whatever probably Devontae Adams loves too, so he can throw it to him. But when I look at those guys, they're usually doing a run to pass check or run to run check, or they're just saying, okay, there's a different blitz on, we can throw it this way. So it's not a lot of their own play calling, I don't think. I think it's more of just what the coach called and going off of that a little bit.
Right. Or we saw, you know, with Patrick Mahomes, he just says, go, Kels, because they were talking before the play how he's just going to, instead of going to the sideline, he's got a lot of ad-libbing, too. It goes on. I think it goes on more now than it ever has, right?
Yeah, those kind of situations are different because you saw, like, if we were in this formation 3 or 4 times in a game, this is the coverage they gave us 3 out of the 4 times. And so you talk on the sideline and say, hey, if they give that to us again, instead of you running a dig, just kind of creep up the seam. They're going to leave it open. I'll get it to you. I'll look off and I'll get it to you. Those kind of things happen all the time in a game where you're kind of going at a matchup. You're doing one-on-one. You're doing some backyard stuff. And that's kind of what makes the game really fun is when you can get to that mentality with different players on your team. So I think that if you can figure those kind of things out, it's a lot of fun to play the game then. Because if you look at what Warren Moon used to do when he played for the Oilers, you know, he had 3 receivers that they were all on the same page. They didn't have a lot of plays. They maybe had 10 plays, but depending on the defense, all those plays changed at the line of scrimmage or while the players were en route, and which was amazing. So, you know, it let you focus on how am I going to beat the defense instead of just, okay, I'm calling this plays and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3.
Okay. And finally, Gus, we're going to bring on Rico and Dan now. Rico, I don't know if you know this, Gus. Hello, Rico.
What's up, guys?
Hello, Dan. Nice to see you.
Hello.
What's up,
Gus,
Dan?
Rico.
I got a question for Rico. Rico, you know this shirt? Wait, let me see. You know what that means?
No, I don't.
Did you ever hear of Kennywood?
Yes, I heard of Kennywood.
That's the Jackrabbit at Kennywood, my man. I
Oh,
thought you would
is
know
it?
that.
No, I didn't know that.
It's one of the oldest rides in America.
I've been to Kennywood twice. What did they give me? Those French fries? They literally are hard.
Oh, it's like French fries with 2 pounds of cheese on.
Yeah, it's 2 pounds of cheese. I think they even throw an egg on it. I don't even know. It's crazy. They handed me a plate that I was just kind of shocked. I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, you just basically you got to walk around for 10 hours after you eat one of those things.
Yeah, and the line for this place is crazy. There's a line like around, like it's a crazy one of those wiggly lines to get
it's
to.
called the potato patch.
That's
But
it. That's exactly what.
Okay, so there's a place in LA called Pink's Hot Dogs. I went there before. I lived there for 2 years. I never went. It's a tourist attraction. I went there, Rico, and it was the worst hot dog I ever had. Are these fries with the cheese? Are they really good, Gus?
Oh yeah,
Or is it,
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's more than
Yeah,
just a tourist attraction.
There used to be a place in Pitt in where the University of Pittsburgh is called the O, right? The O had some of the best fries. It was like a grease pit, but they closed that down. And now the only place to get good fries is at Kennywood. So you got to go to the theme park and get you know, you got to get some fries. They are really good. I will say that.
Gus,
All right, so I was. Go ahead, Rico.
I was gonna say we were at Primanti Brothers, the original one. Now that place is a true hole in the wall, but yet it is the best one there by a mile.
Yeah, you have to have a cane when you go in there because if you think it's like walking on ice, but it's grease.
Yeah, it's like on the walls. When you stand there waiting, you don't lean on the wall. You just stand still.
Oh no, and you're gonna smell just like that place when you leave there too.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
awesome. All right, Gus, I don't know if you know this, but we're sitting next to, just big time. Rico's going to the Super Bowl. Did you hear? Rico, tell him the story, how you're going to the Super Bowl.
So Melissa, we're in Pittsburgh, and Melissa's mom's like, somebody called me and told me I want tickets to the championship football game. And we're like, did you give him your credit card number? Please tell me you didn't give him your credit card number, whatever you did. She's like, no, they said I won on the lottery. We're like, yeah, whatever. The next day, she's like, they called me and told me I have a round trip ticket to the Super Bowl and a hotel room. Like they kept upping it. Like, and all these parties. And we're like, just whatever, Sandy. Like, we didn't want to break her heart and be like, you didn't win the lottery. You're a little crazy. Cut to, we find out she won a second chance lottery to a Super Bowl extravaganza package that includes round trip tickets to the Super Bowl, hotel room for 4 days, 3 pre-parties, VIP parties, one of them at the stadium, and then tickets comparable to, they said lower, they didn't give us our tickets yet, but they said lower level, 2 lower level tickets.
Well, that's going to be expensive because the average price of a ticket now is like $6,000. It's crazy.
Tell them how much they are, Rico.
I've been looking at it. So the average price, which is insane, it's the most expensive sporting event like in history. $20,000 for like lower level section 100 is 20 G's. So only in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't even know how you afford that. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's $6,000 for top level.
And we used to get in trouble for reselling our tickets for like $150.
Well, that's the dilemma now. Does Rico? He might be able to sell them, and he could get $40,000 for these.
Yeah, just go to a sports bar and watch it on TV, man.
Oh,
pocket the cat. Give who'd you say it was? Who won the extravaganza?
Melissa's mother.
Give her like $10,000 and say, here's what you won.
That's what I said. Me and Melissa. That's what we're gonna do. If we don't know if they're transferable, but if they are, we're gonna put them up for sale, and then we use the money for Hawaii.
They're gonna get all the money out of you because you're gonna go buy it's gonna be like $25 beer that's like 12 ounces.
It's
ridiculous.
The parking is $500. I'll get into that later, but the parking is $300 to $400 a parking spot.
And if you take an Uber there, it's probably going to cost $100 to get Uber too. So they're going to. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
But that being said, we have a bus taking us. We have a shuttle taking us from the hotel there.
Hey, I'm going to tell you what. Go to the parties, enjoy your hotel room, sell those tickets, and you're going to have a better time than if you'd have went to the game.
I agree with you. That's the plan. That is the game plan. So I'm in a win-win situation. Either I'm going to the Super Bowl or I'm going to Hawaii. One of the two. I'd rather go to Hawaii, but that's just.
I mean, so talk about just luck favors Rico wherever he goes. Like next time I see him, I just want to rub elbows with him to get some of that good luck mojo.
It's not that great. My wife is cleaning up the house right now, and the house is already clean, so I'm in trouble somehow, some way. All right. When the wife is cleaning up a clean house, it's over. We're having a talk.
The dreaded talk, huh?
Gus, before we let you go, got a couple more minutes here. Dan obviously covers the Bears, has a Bears podcast. Talk about, going into old-time Soldier Fields where the Bears played and dealing with that fans and just the mystique, because you played for Minnesota and Detroit, just dealing with the mystique of the Bears and how intense anytime you played the Bears it was.
Well, I mean, obviously they're one of the original franchises, and it's just, there's so much history when you go in the Bears. I obviously followed him because Mike Ditka was the head coach. He's a Pittsburgh guy. I've had him on my show. And then to go there and play is incredible. I played in both the old and when they renovated it, the new stadium. I like the old better. But, just going there, there's a lot of history, and it's the Bears. And you've seen so many things on them. So I got to play with the Vikings, go there and play them with the Lions, played them when I played with Washington. So had a lot of opportunities to go to Chicago And then when you get there, you realize why they call it the Windy City.
Just, a nightmare, right? To throw the ball when it's 2 below.
Well, it is. You kind of get used to it. You understand where you can throw it and where you can't. You know what I mean? Like, if it's super windy and if it's cold and it's not windy, you can play. Like, you can throw the ball around. But if it's cold and windy, it's tough. You know, you're not going to throw the ball around that much. You're going to keep it low. You're going to throw a lot of slants, more bullet shots. You can't like just float it up in the air and throw deep balls because that's going to float out of bounds or into a safety's hands.
All right, Gus. I'm 9-3 picking playoff games. I have the Rams winning this one. I think the Rams win pretty convincingly. I'm going to put like 36-27, something along those lines. Break this game down. Do you give the Bengals a shot?
Of course, I give the Bengals a shot. They played and beat the 2 teams that were the 1 and 2 teams in the AFC at their home fields. And, you know, people could say whatever they want, like this happened, that happened. You know, Patrick Mahomes had a bad second half, but whatever happened, they went into those places. Now they're going in for another away game and playing against another home team. And but I can, you know, I'm never going to count that team out because in the last few weeks, I've seen them do things that you know, a lot of other teams wouldn't have been able to do. So I'm not going to count them out. I don't know if they'll win the game, but they may keep it close. I don't know what the spread is now, maybe 4.5. I think that's what the last I saw it is. Yeah. But I don't know if they win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think they're going to keep it close because, as we saw, the Rams don't get a lot of. It is home field advantage, but it's not as well. And it's going to be who can, you know, take the distractions that happen for them, not let it affect them. The Rams obviously have been there before, but Matthew Stafford has them, so it's going to be crazy. Joe Burrow. He understands big games, and I think he's going to perform well, but it's everyone else around him. How are the linemen and everybody with all the stuff that happens at a Super Bowl for the teams? How can they handle the pressure? I agree with you. I think the Rams will win, but I think it's going to be closer than anybody thinks.
Now, I say this all the time. It doesn't matter for playoff games, but when you have an extra week and all the media and everything goes on, Sean McVay should have this team more prepared. If for nothing else, they've been there before. He knows what to expect. You know, you look at the Bengals, not a lot of these guys have been there before, and the head coach hasn't been there before. So with media week, with all the stuff that's going on, Sean McVay should have the advantage, right? If for nothing else, just because he has to prepare, he knows how to prepare them for this.
Well, I would think that you know, the Bengals have played some really good defenses, so they understand. And I would say that if they can keep it simple, not put too many brand new plays in, you know, they know where the Rams' strengths are. It's at defensive line. You know, they have a great one-on-one guy and Jalen Ramsey. I'm sure he'll be on Jamar Chase. But I feel like Jamar Chase obviously won Rookie of the Year. You know what I mean? That's a guy that if he's one-on-one with anybody, even Jalen Ramsey, he's probably going to win. So I think if the Bengals can go in and they keep it simple, they give their guys, okay, here's what we're doing. We're going to study a lot of film, but, you know, enjoy yourself as well. But understand this doesn't come around that often, right? There's not that many Tom Brady's out there that get to go to one after another.
Yeah, no, George brings up a great point. Yeah, he was on the staff, but it's a little bit different when you're the number one guy as opposed to an assistant who's just basically. But yeah, you know, you look at what McVay has done with his coaching tree. It's insane, right? They're just picking people off him left and right. And finally, Gus, give us your prediction. You said the Rams are going to win. You say it's good. You think it's going to be a field goal, but more importantly, what is it like Super Bowl Sunday at your house? Who does the cooking? Is it a big party? Do you do the same foods every year? Do you mix it up? Walk us through your Super Bowl day.
I won't be able to make it, Gus. I may not be able to make it over to your house this year.
I'm going with you. I'm going with you.
I'll switch. I'll listen to Pittsburgh.
No, you know, for us, it's just another Sunday. You know, playoffs are always obviously a little more special. We'll have some snacks. We'll cook some meals. It all depends on what we're feeling. It's just another Sunday for us, but we do all watch the game. My wife's kind of been done with football for a while now, so she's like, "Who's playing in the game?" Before, I mean, her father was my high school football coach. She grew up on a football field, and she knows football as well as anybody I know. But over the last, since I've been done playing and the kids don't play high school anymore, she doesn't see, she would follow our friend Ryan Fitzpatrick all the time. But other than that, she kind of gave up. So it's just myself and the boys. We'll watch the games, and we have our favorites, and we'll see how they do. But
it's
I don't
funny.
know. I mean, I think it's going to be like, it's going to be less than a field goal score. So I don't know, like a 32-30 game.
Do you do any of the boxes? The Super Bowl boxes? Do you know what those are?
No, I don't do it. I know what those are. I haven't done any of those. I usually just get on my FanDuel and put a couple of dollars on.
All right, yeah.
Do some prop bets. I like the prop bets.
Yeah, the props are great.
It's funny because Melissa, Rico's wife, loved the Steelers, and since Rico over the last couple of years they've been together, she hates football now because Rico's so obsessed with fantasy, the Steelers. So, right, Rico?
Yeah, well, I think Gus's wife has more of an excuse than Melissa. We're talking. I mean, this is a lifelong thing of football hanging over her head.
Yeah,
I love
it.
Patrick, that's pretty great.
We're hoping someday she gets back in. She tried to play fantasy. She didn't like it, because she wasn't winning and she didn't want to focus all her time on who's in, who's out, who's hurt, who's not. So it's a lot.
All right, Gus, when is your next episode of Huddle Up with Gus? How can we follow you? How can we support you?
So this past week, my son Gunnar and I went and did a review of 2021 football, and then we went through all the games. It's kind of funny. He picked the Chiefs and Rams playing in the Super Bowl before the season even started.
That's what I picked. That's exactly.
And, and watch. I think he was kind of bummed out that the Chiefs lost last week, but I think he loves Joe Burrow, so I think that that was a good thing for him. So we went through that last week, so you can listen to Huddle Up with Gus and catch that. And then this Thursday, I'm going to have an old coach of mine who also played for the Bengals, was an MVP of the season. Kenny Anderson's going to come on with me this Thursday, and we're going to talk about our days when I played with him or for him. He was my quarterback coach, and we're going to go back through some of his history when he was with the Bengals, and back in the late 70s, 80s when they were pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, they went to a Super Bowl, obviously, and I was way off. I had the Chiefs and the Packers in preseason, so I was way off picking.
Well, it's funny. Everybody picks the Packers, but you look that they can't beat the Niners, right? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a great record in the playoffs. So yeah, he won a Super Bowl. He's won a bunch of MVPs, but when it comes to the playoffs, somehow he ends up choking every year.
Yeah, no, he's been terrible.
All Dan likes to hear that.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Wait, look, this is the guy. Look. I told Kenny, I said, I just got a card to you. This is from your MVP 1981 season. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of fun this Thursday. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Excellent.
Yeah, listen, Hall of Famer. He does belong in the Hall of Famer.
Definitely.
Gus, when you're around these quarterbacks, you've interviewed Warren Moon, Doug Flutie, all these guys. Are you amazed at how easy it is to just talk football with them and how much, and someone like you who's played for 15 years, are you amazed when they say something and like they still educate you or you educate them going back and forth doing these interviews?
Yeah, some guys they remember a lot of things, like all the play calls they had, and hey, this is what it was called back in the day. I like talking more about locker room stuff and how did you deal in these situations. I'm not real curious about, what did you call that play and what you do in that. I'm more curious about how they handled situations, how they got to where they were, that whole process. Like Doug Flutie was really interesting to talk to about how he got to Boston College, the play where, that basically won him the Heisman, that play, and then going on and playing through 3 different professional teams in Canada, the USFL and the NFL. So, just getting to know those guys' history and knowing what got them to where they are and what kind of leadership skills helped them get there and all those transitions they made, because it's not easy to learn a new language, learn a new offense. And so how do they do those things? Those things are what interest me, and not the technicalities or, getting into the weeds of everything.
I think if I remember correctly, watching that interview, Doug said his brothers were always better athletes than him too. Can you imagine that? Like Doug Flutie, as great.
Well, that's because they were taller than him.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. All right, Gus, thanks so much.
All right,
really
guys.
Appreciate the time. Take care.
Have a great Pro Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, see you.
Gus is so good. It's unbelievable how good he is, right, Rico?
He's not as good as Dan.
No. I can't hold a candle to Gus, man.
Dan, is that a new hat? People are asking.
No, it's not. It's not that new. Fairly new, I guess. I don't know. A couple of weeks or so.
Yeah. I like that. All right.
He keeps his hats tight. You could tell.
I try to.
My friend Andrea has been excited all week for Dan the Man to come on because she wants to know what you are thinking about regarding the defensive coordinator of the Colts now becoming the head coach. I would have went with an offensive mind, but I like this hire. I think it's a good fit.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a real good fit too. I think he comes from the mold that we're used to in Chicago, and they're trying to establish something, right? The Bears are trying to establish a locker room. They're trying to establish a culture, and he's going to bring that. He's going to infuse that discipline. Some of the things that have been lacking in the recent years. You remember, over the course of the 4 years in Chicago. How many guys were ejected from ball games for fighting and, ejected from a playoff game even for punching somebody in the helmet, things like this. These are the things they want to shore up. They want to get rid of being penalized as much as we have been. And, of course, giving maximum effort. That's the things that he's going to focus on. From a defensive standpoint, I think it's very nice to have him because he fits the mold of what we are used to, right? He comes from the Rod Marinelli, from the Lovie Smith type of thing. He uses the term loaf, do you loaf or are you playing? Things like that. And he has he comes in and he wants to lay the groundwork for what he wants to do defensively, but he wants to touch everything on the football field. You mentioned that you would rather have them have a offensive-minded head coach or offensive coordinator, things like that. I wasn't so on that boat because I didn't think anybody stood out particularly. I think right. Brian Daboll was good. Leftwich was good. Some of these offensive coordinators were very good, but nobody stood out head and shoulders above anybody else. So in my opinion, it's kind of like the quarterback. If you got 2 or 3, you got none, in my opinion. So I wasn't on that boat. I would rather have a leader and a motivator of men. And I think that's what he's going to provide. He also said something at the opening press conference, if you pay attention to it. And this is something that I said on the podcast 2 weeks ago. I said that a defensive guy can be just as valuable as an offensive guru because you can hire your offensive coach. Now, will it be hard to do that? Of course. I'm not saying it would be easy to just throw somebody in there. But from a defensive standpoint, a defensive head coach can go to the offensive coordinators, can go to Justin Fields and say, hey, Justin, this is what you're lacking in. This is the areas that we're going to attack you as a defense if I was game planning against you. Now, that creates a whole different type of logic because now you understand, your offensive coordinators understand, hey, this is what they're going to focus on. This is what they want to take away from us, so on and so forth. So it's a different dynamic, and people sometimes forget about that situation. But those are things that can really help the Bears.
Yeah, I like I said, my original thing, but I like the hire. I think he's going to do good things for them, and they desperately needed a change, like we know. Speaking of changes, Rico, so we went from growing up watching all these great quarterbacks, right? And now we have a new generation of quarterbacks. I'm in the mindset, Rico, that these new generation of quarterbacks that we have right now could be better than what we saw for the last 15 years. I mean, what we're seeing Burrow do, you could throw Tua out of there, but Justin Herbert, are you of the mindset that even though these players are retiring, the offenses are still in good hands?
Well, I don't think that group of guys who just retired. They're like the first of a breed. Like they were the first guy. That's why they lasted 17, 18 years. It's because during their tenure, the league started protecting them. Like rules got changed while they were there.
Exactly.
Like Gus was a freak of nature. 12 years in the NFL at that time was considered like insane.
Yeah, he spent 15 years in the NFL.
Yeah, Gus, so like something like that was considered, like insane. Like now, like Burrows can go for 20-something years. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like that, he's not even a runner. He's not that much of a runner. He knows when to slide. But I don't know if we'll ever get as many as we had. Those guys, there's a big list of guys that we had from the Manning brothers to, to Brady to, what's his name? Who's on the Colts? Not on the Colts. Brian, Phillip Rivers. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers. Yeah. I thought you were talking about Andrew Luck for a second there.
Yeah, well, Andrew Luck for a hot second, but he wasn't. I mean, he was, he might have been the smartest of all of them.
Yeah, to leave early.
You know what's funny, if you don't mind me just mentioning it,
No.
the top quarterbacks, the game, the rules, like you mentioned, Rico, are changed to benefit these quarterbacks for these offenses. That's what it's for. If you take a look at the top 20 all-time seasons, yardage wise, there's only one person from the 80s or 90s that's in there. Well, you could put Peyton Manning in there because he's in the 90s or whatnot. But I'm talking about these guys that just retired and so forth. The only other one besides them is Dan Marino. One time.
Yeah.
Everybody else is Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Jameis Winston even. So that lets you know right there. It's just it's in good hands. The NFL will make sure it's in good hands. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, everything favors the offense. Okay, so Dan, your general manager came out and said, we're going to build through the draft. We're going to acquire young, fast, and physical football players. He said, we are going to take over the NFC North, and we're not giving it back. Yeah. Do you like the bravado here, or is it, hey, man, slow down. We just saw this, with the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell. We're going to take kneecaps off, whatever. Do you like him coming out and being this cocky?
Well, as long as he's not talking about biting off body parts, then I'm cool with it. I'm good with it. I think you need to have that. That's the city of Chicago. If you pay attention to Twitter, we're at it with Green Bay fans, Minnesota fans. That's just what they do, right? So I think everybody embraces that. I think most people like it. Some people don't, of course, and they say it's bulletin board material and things like that. But like I said, I'll give you a perfect example. I remember I went to a game at Lambeau Field, Chicago Bears versus Green Bay Packers, and it was a Sunday night game. And Monday, Sunday, the Bears won. Of course, we went to the hotel. I went to sleep. I woke up and I was driving back to Chicago Monday morning. Turned on the radio, and Lovie Smith was on there. And what was he saying? We consider Lambeau Field the Soldier Field of the North. This is the type of bravado that we have. This is the type of bravado that I enjoy. I'd rather them talk like that. I'd rather them to know that it's on their minds that, hey, we need to get back to a situation where we're not only competing but dominating the NFC North. That's what we want to do. So I'm all for it. I hope he continues it.
Okay, Rico.
Football's a little better place when Chicago's a good team. When the Bears are good, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Whenever they're not good, I'm always kind of like, the NFL, it's like if Green Bay wasn't good somehow, some way, it's missing something.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. And same with the NBA. The NBA is better when the Bulls and the Knicks are good. When they're not, it's not as fun. All right, Rico. So a lot of people were, and rightly so, were frustrated about playing fantasy football this year because of the injuries. So here's what I'm going to do to make fantasy football better. By the way, still haven't gotten paid for the 2 fantasy football things I've won. I don't understand this. Like
when you say I have shady friends,
but it's not even about it's not even about the money, because it's not a lot of money. But it's like, dude, pay the money. I won. Give me my damn money. I don't want to pull a Stewie from Family Guy where he beats up Brian for his money, but it might have to come to that. All right, Rico.
I'll tell you, if you give me 15%, I'll come into town next time I'm in town.
It's the principles, man. That's what it is.
Right.
I'm saying, like, I won. Give me my money. So
Dan's like, it's principle now. That's it. It's not even about the money.
That's what I said yesterday. I was texting him. I go, dude, really? $250? Like, what? I pay right away. When I run a league, as soon as they win, I Venmo them the money. End of story.
We got it. You got beat. It's cool. We got it. You got getting the money. It's all right, dude.
All right. So here's Rico. What I would do is, instead of doing running backs, we do running back by committee. For example, I'm going to select the New Orleans Saints as my running team. I'm going to select the Tennessee Titans as my running team. So if they're 1 or 2 and 3, if you're the Ravens, all their running backs get injured, you still get points for the team, what they do rushing. Do you like that?
Me? No, I think it would be different if it was a different format. Because then you'd get like an A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones would be like the number 1 pick off the board. Like, as far as running backs go, because they have such a big, strong tandem there. And then it kind of takes away from the game in the sense of like, hey, because there is fantasy football has a level of people getting hurt, and that about it. So it's kind of like, I'm going to take Dillon because I think Aaron Jones might get hurt this year. So he's going to be like somebody I pick up later and put in my back pocket. It sucks to always say but that's fantasy football. Players get hurt and then you have to replace them. So it's like, hey, I'm going to put Dylan on the back of my bench and pretty much steal somebody's handcuff. It's part of the draft where, if I take Aaron Jones, later on I want to get A.J. Dillon just in case he gets hurt, right? But if somebody else snatches him on me, now I'm stuck. Now I get stuck.
Okay. So you want to keep the way it is. You don't want to make
it the way it is because there's more scheming going on.
More strategy
during the draft of me taking somebody's backup from them. Somebody taking Pollard, away from the guy who has Ezekiel Elliott.
I get you. More strategy. By the way, this is the gif I was talking about where Stewie collects. Give me my damn money, man. Am I wrong? I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but
that might happen to you if you go get the money. You might be Stewie. You might not be Stewie.
Rico, let's calm down there. When stuff goes down, I'm a man of the street, bro.
You are.
All right. So let's talk about what do the Bears need to do this offseason. My friend Andrea wants to know, can they be a playoff team, and what do they need to do to become a playoff team?
Well, number one, they can definitely be a playoff team. I think they can even win the NFC North, depending on what Aaron Rodgers does. That's up for grabs. Minnesota is who they are. Detroit, of course, is Detroit. So it's there for the taking. And if a team is able to get hot, then they can make a serious run, not only for the NFC North, but also in the playoffs as well, depending on if you have home field advantage and things like that. So I think it's very much attainable. I think there's some things that the Bears need to shore up defensively. The defensive line, they're moving towards a 4-3 now instead of the 3-4. So you're going to have 4 down linemen. You're going to have, Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn that are going to be able to get after the quarterback and do what they do best and stop dropping back into coverage, which is something that I'm a big fan of. So you may be able to get pressure with just 4 and then send a blitz every now and then with somebody like Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith, that's another thing. I think the Bears probably need to address, number one, middle linebacker. If they can find a middle linebacker and move Roquan Smith to the will linebacker, that would be better suit him. He's a more athletic guy, kind of like Darius Leonard. If you look at what Darius Leonard was able to do at that position, he's all over the field. He's able to do what he needs to do. He can be like that guy, that Lance Briggs. So if they can get a bigger middle linebacker, that would be good. And they definitely need a cornerback. Chicago had some bad problems on the back end, just mental lapses, and not that the guys were beaten athletically, they were just having mental lapses. So if they could shore that up somehow, bring in some competition, they make these guys kind of put some juice in them and whatnot, then that would be good as well. And of course your offensive line, the Bears need to shore up that offensive line. We had some people hurt, and we do have some younger pieces that are able to get there. So hopefully they can solidify the offensive line, maybe grab an interior lineman or two in the draft or in free agency. The Bears do have a lot of money that will be available, probably close to $60-70 million available to spend in free agency. So they're in pretty good shape when it comes to that situation.
Dan, let me ask you this question, and I had this conversation with Andrea regarding the Bears. If I'm the Bears, I back up the money truck, and I offer Devontae Adams 5 years, $100 million. I take him away from the Green Bay Packers. You have him. You get Robinson back. You build a young quarterback in Justin Fields, who I like, and you take the best offensive weapon from the Packers to the Bears. That would be my number one free agent signing. The little quick slants he runs. You don't have to have a great offensive line. We saw this year, I know it's Aaron Rodgers, but we saw this year, at one point they were playing with one starting offensive lineman, and Devontae Adams kept getting touches. Why wouldn't they do that? Take him away from your rival, bring him on board.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option. I just don't understand. I just don't know if he's willing to do that, if he's willing to come to Chicago. But definitely, if you have the money to do it, which they do, I would say do it. Green Bay is not going to be able to sign him back. I mean, they have to literally cut $70 million just to sign him under a free agent tag and then you're still at the cap penalty at that point.
Well,
So it's not feasible for them to keep him, I don't think, in my opinion. But
I heard rumors of Juju going to Chicago.
Yeah, Juju's been making noise about going to Dallas too. So
Yeah, well, that's they already got enough wide receivers there. But he just said that I guess when you're standing next to a quarterback and you're in an interview, you got to say something like that.
Yeah,
it's not like Prescott wasn't there. He was like, I'd love to catch passes from him.
Yeah.
But I know Chicago's looking for wide receivers, and
I think Juju will be he'd be a nice add, but my only problem with Juju is I don't know if he's a number one guy. I want to get a number one guy in here, solidify him as the number one guy, and then move forward. Chris Godwin, of course, he's injured. Michael Gallup, that was another guy that I looked at, and he's injured as well. How is that going to happen? We signed a guy off of injury before with Allen Robinson, and if you look at his numbers, that 2018 season, he wasn't himself. He was getting back into the swing of things. These guys got injured at the end of the season. It's going to affect their play next year. So do we want to sign a guy that's going to be sitting on the bench and probably not play as many games or not be himself for a full season until you get to the next season? So those are the things that I wonder about. Mike Williams is another guy that's available. Juju even, he's coming off that shoulder situation. So
Kenny Galladay,
I don't know how strong that is.
When he was hurt, you're right. That's actually good to remember for fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Rico, one of the things that I don't understand, Gus said it before, you live in LA, you have the vibe there. I don't understand how when LA fans are very fickle. If your team loses, there are a million things to do. Go to the beach, go to the pier, go to a movie, go to a show, go to a farmer's market. You're not going to support your team. But the Rams are winning. The Rams are going to the Super Bowl. And I get the vibe that like most of LA is like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. How are they so nonchalant? I mean, remember the song, I Love LA, Randy Newman? I mean, how are they so nonchalant, Rico, about this team?
Well, you got to remember, it's only like 3 years old. They've only been here like 3 or 4 years. It's not like these guys, a big majority of fans are like, oh, LA is my new team. I'm a Steeler fan, but yet they're my new team. Like that's why when they played the 49ers, from what I found out, the 49ers have the richest fans, like literally the most disposable income in San Francisco, somebody was telling me. And that's why they bought up the stadium. Rams fan, like I said, I'm going to be a Rams fan Sunday. Short of somebody giving me money, I'm not going to be a Rams fan. It'll happen just like that. It'll happen 40 G's later. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will sell that ticket so fast. But again, it's still a new team here. They don't got the roots like in Chicago, like Dan has, or I have with Pittsburgh. Like it's not
so
like
Rico, but it's so it's still a Laker and Dodger town, right?
It'll always be a Laker and Dodger town. The Rams, even if they win the Super Bowl, they'll always still be
third fiddle.
It'll still be third fiddle to the other two sports.
Like you on the show right now, it's me, Dan, and you. So basically, that's what it is.
Well, listen, I'm the third. I'm a powerful third guy on the show.
We're only as strong as our weakest link. So
first guy, Monte.
So Dan, here's the question: what are they going to do with Dalton and Foles?
Well.
They're going to keep them.
No.
I'll trade
I think
Mason Rudolph.
I think Dalton's probably going to go somewhere else. Of course, he'll sign somewhere else, and he was only on a 1-year deal anyway. Nick Foles will probably be cut as well. But we can get rid of him and not really take on too much of a cap penalty or things like that. So I think those two guys are going to be gone. They'll probably sign somebody as a backup, somebody to help and kind of help Justin go forward. Maybe you keep one of those guys, but I think the money is too big for them, too large contract-wise, cap hit-wise, that they'd want to cut bait with them and then get somebody in here that'll cost them a little bit less money, to be honest.
All right. Before we talk about Justin Fields and Dan's quarterback, Rico, any movement to what the Steelers, where they're going? A lot of people emailed me during the week saying, please tell me Rico doesn't believe in Mason Rudolph because you're saying that they still like him. You cannot go into that division next year with him as your quarterback. Have you heard anything else?
I talked about it with a few people. Matter of fact, I was hanging out with one of my friends and hardcore Steeler fans. We're they're there. They're fully committed to go with Mason Rudolph. If something doesn't magically fall on their lap, they're not going to give up draft picks. That's not who they are. They're not going to go chase one of these other guys because they don't think it's a big enough upgrade over Rudolph. And Rudolph's on a cheap contract right now. They don't want to spend that type of money either on a big guy. If they pick up somebody in the draft that they've interviewed a few quarterbacks that'll probably be available in the second or third round. So they looked at that. They've talked to them, and there's one I forgot his name. It's not Pickett.
Rico, how can you go into a division with Joe Burrow, with Mason Rudolph as your quarterback, or a healthy Lamar Jackson? What the hell is Pittsburgh doing? What are they doing?
I don't know, but they have faith in him and Haskins. They do. And listen, Josh Dobbs is the third great. Josh Dobbs is really good. He's a really good quarterback. But you know what? Like I said, I feel like that's the way the road's going unless something happens. Unless something changes its yeah, exactly. Andrew's right. I think Tomlin will figure it out.
Let me explain something to you. If Mike Tomlin has never had a losing record, if Mike Tomlin has a winning record with Mason Rudolph, he should not only get a contract extension for life, they should make him king of Pittsburgh.
Well, let's not forget, 3 years ago he pulled through with a high school quarterback. He still he almost made the playoffs with a high school quarterback who goes duck hunting. So let's not forget he did that already once before.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. All right, let's talk about your quarterback. Struggled this year out of Ohio State, Justin Fields, 2-8 record. Not going to hold that really against him. Troy Aikman, I think, went 1-15 his first year in the league. 58% completion, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. What I don't like is 5 fumbles. He's turned the ball over 15 times. What do you like? What don't you like about Justin Fields? I think he's a franchise quarterback.
Me too. Yeah, I think he's a franchise quarterback as well. I think he's going to be very, very good. I think his development was slowed. It was hindered a little bit. I even used the word several times this year that he was sabotaged, and I truly, truly believe that. Okay. But what I will say is that I understand. Well, not I understand, but I do like the things that I like from him is his poise, his confidence, and the way he does not buckle under pressure. Even though he went through this difficult season, the difficult struggles that they had offensively, play calling, scheme wise. I mean, you got Allen Robinson on a podcast he did with Steve Smith. He said he played 17 games and did not run one single deep cross the whole season.
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
None, right? So you can see here where things were going wrong, and that's why I use the word sabotage, because how you not put your best receiver in a position to catch a ball is mind-blowing to me. But that's what we dealt with, and through it all, he was poised, he was confident. So I think he has that confidence about him. That's not going anywhere. These things are not going to break him. These growing pains, you might say. The things that I do want him to work on, of course, is the turnovers, ball security. I'm not so worried about the interceptions because those are going to happen from time to time. But dropping the ball, fumbles, the 5 fumbles you mentioned, those things can't happen. You know what I mean? You got to be able to secure the ball and get down when you need to get down, not take unnecessary punishment, things like that. You're going to take some punishment standing in the pocket because he likes to go down the field. And that's what we wanted in a quarterback because we had check down people before. So the ability to go down the field is going to get you hit. You don't need to get hit outside of the pocket as well. So get down, get out of the way of contact, and hold on to the ball for dear life.
Okay, Dan, real quick, and then we'll transition to something else. What's a successful season for the Bears next year? Is it playoffs or bust, or is it, hey, let's get to 9 wins? What's a successful season for you who covers this team 365 days a year?
Well, I don't think it's playoffs or bust. I think this is a situation where you're going in, you got a new general manager, you got a new coach, you got several areas that you need to clean up. Now, are the playoffs possible? Of course they are, because the NFC North is going to be up for grabs next year, in my opinion. So it's there. You can grab it if you put together, a hot streak and you get rolling, you get some confidence in this team and they buy into things. But you got a lot of things moving, a lot of things going on. The trenches got to be sold up and they got to be stabilized. Everybody has to buy into this new coach and GM, and then going forward, you'll see how it works out. I think 9 wins is something that's attainable. I don't think it's playoffs or bust though, but I will say I expect them to, I'm expecting maybe a 9-win season somewhere around there.
I say this all the time about my teams. Unfortunately, growing up a Jet fan, it was never the case. Keep me invested till December, right?
Yeah.
I used to say as a Knicks fan, keep me invested until St. Patrick's Day. The Knicks season is usually over this year, included, is usually over by Christmas. So you agree with that, right? Keep me invested late December. Give us a chance.
Yeah, if we're sitting here in November and come like this year, come Thanksgiving time, I was done with the season basically. I already knew what was going to happen. So at that point in time, yeah, you need to keep me invested. Let me have some type of hope, a reason to watch the game, you might say, even though I'm going to watch it anyway. But give me a legitimate reason to where other people are not looking at me laughing. You're right. I don't want to be the Lions. I don't want to be the Lions watching Lions games when you have no reason to be watching them past September.
Yeah, no, like Gus says, the Super Bowl for the Lions is always Thanksgiving. That's where they play. All right, Rico. Again, I know this is not Pittsburgh's way. We middle of the season, we heard Aaron Rodgers say it. As a Packer fan, I'm done with Aaron Rodgers. It has nothing to do with him being an egomaniac, not getting the vaccine. He just doesn't produce in the playoffs. Again, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own set of facts. I don't want Aaron Rodgers with the Packers anymore. I'm ready to move on. Thank you. Super Bowl, playoffs, I'm done. Where does this guy end up, Rico? Do you think he comes back to Green Bay?
Yes. I don't think – I think the asking price that Green Bay is going to want, Green Bay would rather say no to everybody and force him into being there one more year, which they will do, and then lower the asking price, of which it's going to be 3 first-round picks. They're going to want 3. They're going to want the max out of what it is. 2, minimum of 2 and 2, if not 2 and 1.
The Rams gave up a ton and it worked out, right? When the Lakers gave up all those young players, all I heard was, "Oh, you're giving up the future." They bring in Anthony Davis, they win a championship. Now they may not win another one, but if I'm a team and I'm good and I'm Denver or I'm the Steelers, I give up 3 first-round draft picks because with Rodgers there, you may have a chance to do something that your team hasn't done. I wouldn't take that risk because he doesn't produce in the playoffs.
He's an older quarterback. I mean, and you're not guaranteed he's going to stay. He's not. You're not. It would have to be a sign and trade. It's not going to be, hey, I'm giving you 3 draft picks or 2 draft picks, first rounders for a quarterback who may only be there 1 year. But Rico, Aaron Rodgers, he comes into Pittsburgh and he's not liking it there. All of a sudden he doesn't like the weather. Guess what? He doesn't want to play the year after that, and you're down 2 draft picks.
Well, but Rico, it's risk reward. Like this guy never won in Detroit. 1 year removed, he's in a Super Bowl. Tom Brady, the Tampa Bay Bucks struggled for years. 1 year they win a Super Bowl. It's risk reward. The Lakers won a championship with Anthony Davis. I don't care that they traded away all those players because it proved if it's about winning a Super Bowl, which Pittsburgh now has Joe Burrow in the division for the next decade, what the hell are you doing? You got to go for it.
Well, I mean, again, Pittsburgh's not that type of team. I see John Elway. I could see Denver maybe pulling the trigger on something like that. But Denver's a good team. But, I mean, it's easy when everybody's doing good around, like Justin, Justin Fields. Like, I think he's a really good quarterback. He was in a crappy system. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean he's a great quarterback.
But Rico, you're a riverboat gambler. You go for things, right? You are a progressive person. You like the new offense. You don't. How do you justify it with Pittsburgh Steelers fans if they don't even make an attempt at Aaron Rodgers? Because that team with a good quarterback,
they will. I'm sure. If anything, they'll lowball. They'll lowball 2 and 1. They're not. I'm telling you, Green Bay would rather. They're going to put the max out for him. If you want Aaron Rodgers, this is what we want. If not, we'll keep him 1 more year and take nothing for him.
All right.
I think Green Bay does that because, and Aaron Rodgers is still, I mean, what can he do, right? He's still stuck on the contract. He has to just eat and take it.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm done with him, so I hope they trade him. We'll see what happens with that. All right, Dan, let's move gears here. I want to talk about the Chicago Bulls. We said during preseason, you were on this show, you and I agreed that this team was going to be the most improved team in the NBA. Mm-hmm. They were. But before we get into that, I just want to talk a little bit about this, okay? I am not defending Grayson Allen because I'm a Duke guy. Grayson Allen, it was a cheap shot, whatever. But people were acting because Caruso got injured that Grayson Allen all of a sudden is like the bad boy Pistons, or or the Knicks with Charles Oakley. This was not a foul that even in the 80s, this would have been called a common foul. They overreacted because of the injury. It was not the cheapest play ever in the history of the NBA, but everyone was acting like that. Are they overreacting?
Well, I'm not going to say they're overreacting, and the reason why I say they're not overreacting is because this guy has a history of hip checking people, tripping people, doing little things here and there to catch people off guard, and it's just a matter of time before you injure somebody playing like that. Now, when a guy goes up in the air and he's off of the ground, anytime you would undercut or do anything to a guy while he's in the air, besides making it you can give a hard foul. I'm not opposed to that, because I believe in that too. Especially during playoff time, if your point guard is just diving down into the lane and doing what he wants to do, hey, somebody needs to get hit and somebody needs to hit the ground so that they know that they can't do that, right? But this is a situation where this is something that he's known for, and it dates back to his college days, even into the pros. This is what he's known for. So when somebody gets hurt behind it, that's what you're going to have. Same thing happened with Patrick Beverley when he dove underneath Russell Westbrook, I think it was, and he injured his knee on that play. Everybody, it was the end of the world, because, hey, you caused the guy to miss significant time with it.
It's funny because, Greg's talking about the Toronto Raptors who played well. You're talking about old school basketball, or, I'm going to end the show talking about Tom Thibodeau, which I was right about this guy. When the Knicks hired him, I said it was a terrible hire. But last year, Trae Young did whatever he wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And he never got hit once by any of the Knicks. Like, Trae Young's bowing, he's litting threes up. To me, how Grayson Allen hasn't gotten an inadvertent elbow when he's running through the paint, it's like there's no repercussion for him ever. And let's be honest, he's not the toughest guy you ever want to meet in a dark alley. He looks like a choir boy. So why hasn't someone done something to Grayson Allen over the last 5 years?
Because the NBA is now a softer league. It's not that type of league. Let's just be honest about it. It's a softer league now. And the Bears, the Bulls right now don't have an enforcer. If you look at the roster, they got some guys that are injured, of course, and things like that, like Lonzo and guys like that, but they really don't have an enforcer. You got Vucevic, but he's not. Nobody looks at him and says, okay, he's going to be a tough guy out there. So that's something that I've been wanting the Bulls to try to get, somebody who's going to do that dirty work, somebody that's going to come to defense of the players, things like that. But yeah, it's not like Grayson Allen is Charles Oakley out there, or
exactly,
something like that.
Anthony Mason.
You could catch him with an elbow and teach him a lesson pretty quickly. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, nobody's doing it, and that's because the players in the NBA, the rules, they're a little bit softer now. Guys don't do that. They complain to the referees, and they'll go into press conferences and complain about it as well.
They just got to bring back Dennis Rodman.
Exactly. You got to bring something like that, Yeah. Even Karl Malone. Karl Malone caught with an elbow and what, he had to get 13 stitches or something?
Oh, yeah. Isaiah Thomas. Yeah. Karl Malone. And you know what? For all those tough guys on the Pistons, none of them went after Karl Malone. No. After he did that. They were just like, oh, okay. But it's funny because, Rico doesn't follow basketball as much as I do. But when I bring up, Oakley and Mason, who Rico lived in New Jersey most of his life, he had a huge smile on his face talking about the old-time Knicks, Rico.
Oh, yeah. This Game 7, John Starks choke.
2 for 18 against the Houston Rockets. You know what's so funny?
God.
People always talk about, my friends talk about the Knicks and their glory days. And I'm like, what glory days? They never won a ring. So, they never won a championship under Patrick Ewing and these guys.
But
so
to
it wasn't
be fair,
really,
they were in the generation of Michael Jordan. It was the 2 or 3 years that Jordan wasn't there that everybody had a shot to get it, and that's where they, But then Jordan came. You got a guy who comes in and dominates the league for 8 years. He's the GOAT. He's the original GOAT.
Well, it's funny because people always say this, and you guys are agreeing, and I disagree with all these comments. Rico, you've been on the sidelines of NFL games. Players are bigger, faster, stronger in the NBA, in the NFL. LeBron James is 6'9", 255 pounds. Patrick Ewing was 6'10", 225. So don't tell me players are softer now, guys. I disagree 100% with you guys.
The rules are softer. I mean, you're scoring 158 points. Nobody's playing defense.
Well, yeah. But I saw the Knicks against the Rockets in the 1994 finals, and every game was like 86-84, 78-76.
Yeah.
I was bored out of my freaking mind, to be honest with you.
You know the glory days, when you talk about those glory days, the Knicks were good then. So it didn't matter I mean, they were there. They were always there. They were a tough team.
50-win
they were
team
gonna
every
be
year.
there. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's when you talk about glory days, that's what you're talking about. When I say soft, it's a mentality. I'm not saying a person is mentally weak or anything like that, but I'm saying the mentality is not to get physical, not to be engaged with individuals, right? You don't want to bump and bang. That's why you have the stretch 4 that has turned into a stretch 5 because people don't want to play in the lane. Yeah. Think about it. Who plays back to the basket besides Joel Embiid?
And maybe Jokic.
And that's it. Yeah. And every now and then Vucevic will do it every now and then.
Well,
but he steps out and shoots the 3 as well.
That's why if I'm the Atlanta Hawks, I go after Marvin Bagley, because here's a guy who could post up. He could 3. The Atlanta Hawks post-up player right now is Danilo Gallinari. That's their best back-to-the-basket player. So are the Bulls going to do anything, talking about my Hawks, are the Bulls going to do anything regarding, a Simmons, any one of these players right here? They're talking about breaking up the Pacers, maybe get another shooter and Buddy Hield. What are the Bulls doing at the trading deadline?
I think the best bet for the Bulls would be Marvin Bagley. I like his game. I think he fits in well. He's young. He can get out and run. He can play a little bit inside, and he can definitely step outside as well. So he's not going to clog the lane up and for Vucevic. Either one of those guys will be able to go down and then step out and go down and step out. So I think that's probably the best bet. Ben Simmons would be nice, but you're talking about a guy who's going to play defense. He needs the ball in his hand. We got plenty of ball handlers and point guards and things like that in Chicago. So I would go that route. I think they need to make some type of something happen, because right now we have Javonte Green. He's playing power forward. He's 6'5". Now he jumps out of the gym, so he can play down there a little bit, but sooner or later it's going to add up. He's already dealt with nagging injuries, and it's because he's playing that 4 position for Chicago right now.
Rico, people are talking about that poster again behind you. Can you show people what that is? And you got that from your friend, right, at a garage sale that you just took it from him?
Yeah, I got it at a garage sale. It's a Batman.
He got it at a garage sale, and the friend just gave it to him.
A Los Angeles garage.
Gave it to him.
That's right. You know it, D.
How, Rico? That's got to be worth some money, right?
I don't know. I don't try to sell things unlike you, Monte. I don't try.
You're selling stuff. Super Bowl tickets.
Oh well, that's different. There's a number. You're right. I'm sorry. I'll take that back. There's a number that I'll start selling.
Right, exactly.
It starts at 15,000 and goes up.
That's what they say. Everything's for sale, right? You just got to make the right price. Yeah.
I always joke. I'm Italian. There's a number. There's always a number. Whatever it is, you just got to meet my number, and we can negotiate.
Everything's for sale. All right, Dan. We got a couple minutes left here talking with Daniel Goodwin and Rico Graziano. Dan, so I say this all the time about him. I don't understand why this guy doesn't get more credit. He's coached in the college and NBA for 27 years now. He's had 24 winning seasons. Everywhere this guy goes, he wins. Now, he has 2 college national championships. He's never been to the NBA finals, but he's taken this Bulls team around along with their front organization, and they've converted them into a winner pretty damn quick.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what he's done and the what he's done for his players, number one, because there was a lot of frustration in Chicago's locker room with the previous coaches and the previous general manager and things like that were running the show there. You had a lot of guys who were stagnant in their development, guys who couldn't get on the floor. They ran it kind of like a college where everybody was getting 20 minutes per game, things like that, and guys didn't really get a rhythm. So that's the situation. You had Zach LaVine, who was benched several times and things like that. Those types of things that were going on, he's changed that whole atmosphere, and he's got guys to buy into his what he's talking about as well. From day one, the reason why I knew this situation was going to work is because even Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, they went to those guys and they said, hey, we want to bring you here to Chicago, but this is how we're going to play basketball. And if you ask either one of those players, they've talked about it in several interviews. They said Coach Donovan told us this is how I envision us playing basketball. This is what I want to see. Caruso, all of those guys were talked to, and then they said that's how I want to play basketball. That's what I feel is good. And they've gone into the season. They hit full stride. They took off. Now you had some injuries and things like that are plaguing Chicago right now. I think the last game we had 6 people out. So those things are going to get healthier as the time goes on. But the fact that they've bought in so quickly is mind blowing to me. That's a sign of a great coach, man. That's a good coach.
Yeah. And great leadership from the veteran guys like Vujacic, Zach LaVine. I think this team could go pretty far in the playoffs. I don't expect them to get a championship, but what's the ceiling for this team, especially if they go out and get a Marvin Bagley? Can you see an Eastern Conference Finals?
I think we can see an Eastern Conference Finals. I definitely see that, especially if we have the home court advantage, I should say. I think we can definitely get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's going to be difficult. Whoever we face, Brooklyn's going to be there. But, Brooklyn is not somebody that can't be beat either. Because when you have a situation where you got Kyrie, who's probably going to miss 2 or 3 games.
4 games, yeah.
On if they're a 1 seed or whatever the case may be. Right now, we're the 1 seed, so we'd have 4 games at home.
Yeah.
So
he missed
that would
3.
he'd miss 3. So, things like that are going to play a factor into the season. So depending on that, I'm not afraid of anybody in the Eastern Conference. I think the Bulls can beat everybody. The only problem that I have with Chicago right now is that you have to stomp on the little guys. These teams that are down there at the bottom of the league,
they're playing to the team's strength. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Don't play to their strength. Beat them down. Beat who you're supposed to beat.
Right.
That's the number one rule. Anytime you want to make the playoffs or go far in it, beat the teams that you are supposed to be, and you'll be there at the end of the season.
Yeah. One of the things they do play to the level of their competition, which went on. All right, Dan, this has been great. We love having you on. What a difference a couple of weeks makes, right? Like you were. People were depressed in Chicago, how the season ended. You got a new coach. You got a very good basketball team. Things are looking up. How can we follow and support you?
Well, I appreciate it, number one, for you allowing me to be here. I enjoyed the interaction with you, Rico, and Gus. Please follow me at Dan Goodwin III on Twitter. We have the 3 Kings of the Midway podcast that we're doing, and that comes out every Friday night. It's out. We're also going to be doing that live pretty soon. We also, on our podcast, take calls from individuals. So anytime that you guys want to call into the show, please feel free. I will give you that number. We also tweet that number out while we're doing our show, and people are able to call in, ask us a question, give their thoughts and things like that as well.
So, Dan, I'm going to call you out now. Again, you've been doing my show for 2 years. Love having you on. Great. All I ask you to do is, hey, when you have your show, tweet it and tag me in it so the people who follow me, who love Chicago sports, can listen to your show. So I can listen to it if it's not live, hear it, because sometimes I have to scroll down your page and I'll check it out. A couple times I've listened to you when you've done speaker, or what was that? The live tweeting that we do now on Nuts and Bolts Sports. But you never, ever, ever tag me in your show.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that offer, and I'm going to do it this coming Friday. I will make sure that I do it. I normally, sometimes I'm leery about doing it. I don't want to, put people out there and say, hey, I'm, follow me because of this guy. You know what I mean? Things like that.
But
I
Dan,
do appreciate it.
We're in the chat room together.
Yeah, that's true.
Brad Ward. I post my videos all the time. You retweet them. Let me return the favor.
That's true. Yeah, you guys, I'm just humbled to be here with you guys, man. And I'm trying to make my way, but I do appreciate it. And I promise you I will do it this coming Friday.
Please, I'm doing a show on Friday, an NFL show, so I won't be able to listen to it live. But even if I'm doing my show, I'm still going to say, hey, not everyone's going to want to listen to me. Listen to Dan in Chicago. The more people we get, the better it is for all of us.
The better.
Yeah, and it's good. It's a good reminder too, because I got a 3-year-old, so sometimes I don't even know it's Friday.
That's true.
And you got a 3-year-old. I got a 4-year-old, man.
Yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, you don't even know what day of the week it is sometimes.
You're right. I know. Spider-Man's on though.
That's right. Well, Encanto. That's the new one. Encanto. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Woo.
All right, Dan. Thanks so much. We'll see you in a few
Bruno.
weeks.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a good
Take
one.
it
All
easy,
right.
bro. Good hearing
Take
you,
care.
man.
I mean, I always tell him, Dan, include me. All right, Rico, got a couple minutes left
You
here.
sounded a little needy there. You're like,
Well, no, because I'm trying to help. Because you know why? Because he does a very good show, and I'm not going to brag,
He
but
does a great show.
I'm getting over 800,000 to 1 million views just on my Twitter page a month. So, like, use it.
Yeah,
I have him on the show. That's the
Totally.
least I could do for him coming on the show. So, Rico, I think your rant is going to be how I woke you up this morning to come on the show because you were so annoyed at me that I put 11 instead of 11:45.
Well, Monte sends me the link and he says, come on at 11, which in my time is 8 o'clock, which means I had to wake up at like 7:20, 7:30 to get my head out, to get my head out of my butt when I wake up in the morning. So I wake up, I set up. Melissa's like, I'm already up, so I'm moving to the bedroom. So I had to move everything to the bedroom. I get on the thing. I get on. All of a sudden, Monte pops up and goes, what are you doing here? So what do you mean, what am I doing here? You told me to be here at 11 o'clock. He's like, oh, come back in like 40 minutes. Like 40 minutes. What am I going to do? So I had to go. Now, on top of that, I had to go clean up, make bacon, cut up strawberries. So my 40 minutes turned into 40 minutes of housework. Where
Rico, are you still on the watermelon kick?
You know what? The watermelon has slowed down because I don't have so much room in the fridge because of the kid. Because he's got, everything's about the kid. It's about the kid. It's about the kid. It's about the kid.
Wow, you sounded really enthusiastic about that.
Yeah. My watermelon. You know how much I love my watermelon. So I have to things have to go to fit in the watermelon.
All right, Rico, what is your rant?
Well, my rant is more about how I'm a little disappointed in California and especially Los Angeles with these parking for the Super Bowl. I mean, I get the thing of the Super Bowl tickets, right? Like everybody in the country wants to go to the Super Bowl. They all want to go, I get that, right? That's the price of the ticket. It's always been the highest price ticket of the year. Every year it's the most expensive show, pretty much the most expensive show out there. But this parking for a city that is built on cars, like Los Angeles doesn't have transit really. It's built on cars. There should not be a $400 to $700 parking permit in Los Angeles. That should not be a problem. When they built the stadium, they knew this might have been an issue. When they built the stadium, they did not prepare for it. They prepared for a fake transit that's going to take you to the stadium, which does not exist, has not existed, won't exist for a few years minimum. If they started building 3 years ago, they won't be done till 2027.
When I first moved to LA,
it's
I watched
disgusting.
when I first moved to LA, I watched a documentary, and it was basically how in the 40s and 50s, the LA transit system was going to rival that of France, Japan, and they were going to be so modern. And then the car companies bought off all the politicians. There was articles in the paper. No one did anything about it. I've lived in LA. It's a disaster. But Rico, forget about the parking just for 1 second. I just want to talk about the ticket prices. And here's why the NFL is basically giving a big FU to their fans. The NFL and the owners do not care about their fans, because if they did, this game would be about their fans. How about each fan member? Okay, you have a raffle. If you're the owner, you give 1,000 tickets or 10,000 tickets in a raffle to the fans of the Cincinnati Bengals, to the fans of, let's say LA Rams weren't in here. Let's say the 49ers made it, to the 49ers. And those fans go for free. How much blood-sucking money do you want? The Super Bowl now is not about the fans. It's about corporate America who could afford these tickets. So if I'm the NFL and I'm the owners, I have a raffle for 1,000 fans like your mother-in-law won to win, and people can go, and they don't have to give up a house, sell their car to go see their favorite team. It's a disgrace that the average ticket price is $9,000, $10,000.
And that's at level 500. I agree, but there's probably if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't know about the Pennsylvania lottery winning, right? And there was 15 people. So there you go. I mean, but again, there's 70, 80,000 seats in that stadium.
Right.
Of how many people. You're right. There should be a allotted amount. But from what I understand, I talked to a guy whose friend has season tickets to the Rams, and they told them that they have first crack at their seats, which were $10,000 a seat, which those seats are going for lower level. They're going for about 20 grand, right?
Right.
but they gave them the option from somebody who's a regular season ticket holder, and that was before the Rams made it. They were a season ticket holder in that stadium, so they gave them the option, but they were like, it's $10,000. Like, that's what the price is. So, like, ticket price, I mean, I would love to. I wanted. They're giving us a digital copy. They're giving us a digital ticket. We're getting, which makes it very, which I don't think is going to be transferable.
But Rico, you're right. But my whole point is, like, let's say I've watched the Cincinnati Bengals my whole life, and I can't afford to go to season tickets. I go maybe once a year. I'm a hardworking guy. I've watched the Bengals my whole year. I should have an opportunity when your team goes to the Super Bowl for the average fan who makes less than $50,000 a year. You put his name in a raffle and you give 1,000 tickets to those fans. All the NFL owners have all the money in the world. So does the NFL. Roger Goodell makes $45 million.
You're right, because at the end of the day, even if they gave each city 2,000 tickets to do 2,000 raffles, that's 4,000 seats. There's 70,000, I think even more.
That's what I'm saying.
And every stadium, every Super Bowl stadium that they're having it is an 80. You know, I mean, you got to see what they've done to the stadium. They've rearranged the stadium to the way they have very specialized boxes now in the level like the 50-yard line. The 50-yard lines become high-end VIP, $30,000 a ticket. You know, like
Rico, 70,240 seats in SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, and the NFL could totally, you know, besides, I mean, Melissa's mother, so check this out. For what we got, the package that we won is worth $50,000.
I mean,
so
that's what I'm saying.
2 Super Bowl tickets with the parties, and I already looked. The parties are nothing. The parties were like $100 to get in for like we're VIP. So what is it, $200? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I mean, I'll give you the whole breakdown the week afterwards.
Look at that. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. Forget about the season ticket holder.
Why's George got to be so cheap all the time?
I know, really, George. I mean, you know.
I mean, come on. You're there every week, George. We know you're rich. Stop playing us.
But Rico, here's the deal, dude. Like, forget about the season ticket holder. Just give it to the average fan. Let them spend a weekend at the Super Bowl, going to the event, to the cost of the NFL owners and the NFL. Roger Goodell makes $45 million a year. So what you do, you drop him down to $35 million. Use that $10 million to cover the costs.
Roger Goodell, that's never going to happen. But they should do a big raffle. They should do raffles in the city, and they might. For all we know, there's something in place that we just don't know about. Again, like we wouldn't know that I would be going. You know, who knows how many other states have a lottery system? You know, like the Pennsylvania lottery did. Luckily, they did, and we ended up getting it. You know, so
why is Cynthia breaking your mood? Do you got to pay?
Actually, no. So funny enough, she's right. That's a great question. That's a great question because they actually pay the tax on it. That's why it's $50,000. It's a $40,000 package, and they pay the $10,000 tax on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's one of the very few Pennsylvania lottery winnings that they actually pay the tax on the win.
Wow.
Yeah, which is great. They gave $1,000 spending cash too, so that was cool.
So what are you just going to go to the casino and put it on black?
Well, I got to wait till the traffic dies down.
All right, Rico. So you're not going to be here next week, correct, for the Super Bowl show? Or you will be here.
I mean, if it starts at 3, so you'll be. We'll be. I don't think I'm going to be able to because I'll be at a hotel doing events that day.
Okay. So
I'll
who do you got?
Live video. I'll be You can follow me because I'll be posting all day about how awesome I am at the Super Bowl.
Who wins?
I haven't even got my tickets yet, so who knows? Maybe it's a big scam anyway.
Who wins and why?
I like Aaron Donald gets MVP. I don't think Cincinnati's had an issue with their offensive line all year, and they've been playing great lights out the last 3 weeks. But you know what? Stop 99, man. I don't think there's 2 of the best guys in the NFL have a hard time with them. I think, he's been double teamed all year. I think he's gonna feed. And then you have Von Miller on the other side who loves big games. He's a big game player. So there you go. Out of your 5 offensive linemen, you're using 4 of them on 2 guys.
Yeah. And then you have Jalen Ramsey making plays. And I just think the Rams are too much here. I think the Rams, honestly, they have been the best team all year long. I think, the Bengals are a great story. But yeah, I like the Rams here.
I've been wrong throughout the as much as you do good in the season. I've been wrong throughout the whole playoffs.
Oh yeah, listen. I'm 9-3 in the playoffs, and 2 of my 3 losses have been the Bengals. So,
Yeah.
so I don't
You
give
and
them any
everybody
credit.
else.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
Exactly.
that guy who bet $5 million on the Bengals to win. You see that?
Exactly. I know. Can you believe that?
I wish I got into the mattress business.
Listen, Rico, you're Italian. Send them to the mattresses. Isn't that like, weren't you like 4 years old when you knew what that meant?
Well, I'm gonna talk to the guy and see if I can put pockets under the mattresses so we can put our money in there. Like money pockets underneath the mattress.
All right, Rico, listen, so enjoy the Super Bowl next week. I hate that you're going. It makes me really angry that I'm not going and you are. But, this is our relationship. You're high society and I'm a grinder. That's how it is.
Listen, you said it. I'm just at the right place at the right time. Seems to be the story of my life lately.
All right, Rico. I will see you. I don't know when, but we'll see you soon.
All right. Love you, brother.
Take care, man. That was Rico Graziano. I want to thank everyone. Gus Frerotte, Daniel Goodwin III, and Rico Graziano. Just going to give about a minute left here about my extra point. Listen, I said this when they hired him, okay? I said this when they hired him. I said that Tom Thibodeau is not right for any job in the NBA. When the Knicks were facing the Atlanta Hawks, I had the Atlanta Hawks winning because this guy coaches like it's 1985. And the Atlanta Hawks were a young, upcoming offensive team. He couldn't stop Trae Young. He did nothing to neutralize him, and he's supposed to be a defensive coach. Tom Thibodeau's whole philosophy, guys, is that straight out of, the 1980s. We're going to grind you every night. The only superstar that has liked Thibodeau is Derrick Rose. And that's why he brought him to New York, because he thought D Rose would be able to implement his system and keep the guys in check. When your best player wants out after just a few short years, this is what I said about Thibodeau. For all you guys who came after me when he won Coach of the Year, I said, wait. Again, I said it earlier on the show, I don't judge anything day to day. When I picked the Packers to beat San Francisco, people are like, you know nothing. You're an idiot. You picked the Packers. Who cares? I was 9-3 picking playoff games because sports is not a sprint. It's a marathon. So I just kept telling people, wait, Thibodeau is going to fail and he's going to fail soon. He's been terrible. The New York Knicks, again, were favored to beat the Hawks and they lost first round. They are struggling now and their best player is done with him. Everywhere this guy goes, he wears out his welcome. It was a terrible hire from day one, but what do you expect? It's the New York Knicks. Everything James Dolan does is wrong. End of story. Thibodeau may not get fired before the season's over, but the Knicks probably are not going to make the playoffs, and he will be fired, and I was right. He's a terrible, terrible, terrible communicator with players. It's his way or the highway. And when you look at coaches like Billy Donovan, I said this the other day. I look at Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr laughs on the sidelines. Steve Kerr knows when to get fired up. He knows when to yell, but he's he seems like he loves life. This guy hates life. He's miserable 24/7. All he does is yell and bark orders. Has anyone ever saw Thibodeau laugh on the sideline during a game? Terrible job by the Knicks. Terrible job by him. And it is what it is. That's the New York Knicks. It's what they are. There's a reason they have not been past the second round of the playoffs since the early 2000s. Terrible ownership. Everything they do is wrong. All right, guys, we will be back on Friday with Nuts and Bolts Sports doing a little Super Bowl preview. And then I'll be back Sunday next week with the Super Bowl show. I want to thank all of you for listening. In the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. You have a record that will never be broken.
They hit big shots with Luka. I think the Clippers have no idea.
Oh, look at that reaction. Look at that reaction.